Hello, this is Ukrinform, Evgen Matushenko, and we're here at the European delegation to Ukraine with Ambassador Katarina Mathernova. Good evening.
Good evening. Дуже дякую за запрошення.
Thank you for doing this with us on this historic day and this big day.
Indeed.
Yeah, congratulations on your extensive efforts, contribution to this end.
Thank you very much and congratulations to you for this really unwavering support that the European Union and its leaders have shown today to Ukraine. So congratulations to you as well.
Yeah, thanks. That's a big event and a big decision by EU leaders. And we would like to know, the question is the discussion of the conditions for Hungary to finally lift its veto for the Ukraine facility for the 50 billion euros for Ukraine for the next 4 years has been going on for quite a while. What do you think is the main reason that this has been dragging for so long? Finally, it has been resolved. Is it a matter of EU unity or is it about finances? How burdensome for the EU is to allocate this huge amount of money for Ukraine?
No, I mean, I think this is an extra effort by the Union for Ukraine. And in fact, the 50 billion for Ukraine represent the vast majority of the monies that have been agreed upon, but it was part of a broader package that was agreed, but the 50 billion were the biggest single chunk. It's going to consist of 2/3 borrowing, 1/3 grants, so 17 billion split. And compared to the EU GDP or even to the multi-annual European budget is not that big an amount, but it's really a very especially big amount for a third country. I mean, so I think this is an important effort, and I think very much a demonstration of the support and commitment long-term to Ukraine as a future EU member state that the EU has shown today.
Well, another important track, another important issue that we see positive progress on is trade liberalization extension for Ukraine. So this new draft agreement on trade preferences between Ukraine and the EU, which the Commission proposes to extend until 2025, provides for safeguards. The safeguards regarding agricultural products. So these ones could be activated by any EU member state in case significant fluctuations are observed on the market. So do you think all that remains for Ukraine in this situation is to just agree to this, or do you think maybe we have any options to be able to protect our national interests in this regard?
First, I would say, when you talk about national interest, that the opening of European trade, European markets to Ukrainian products is a unilateral opening that has happened as in response to the full-scale invasion in 2022 and was extended last year. We are now talking about another extension. And this is the basis of your economic lifeline. This is why you were able, even in the situation of war, thanks to the solidarity lanes and thanks to the Black Sea trade route, bring your export levels to pre-war levels. So we are proposing to continue the open markets of the European Union to Ukraine. Yes, there is a automatic safeguards clause, but it's not for all agricultural products. It only covers 3 products, and it's going to kick in when individual member states are able to demonstrate, but they have to demonstrate harm to their own producers. But the level of the safeguard is at the average of 2022-2023 imports. So it's not a ban. There is a quantitative limit. But I think what is most important in the proposal, which still needs to be approved, because this is just a proposal by the European Commission, is the proposal to continue keeping European markets largely open to Ukrainian products.
Well, speaking about the lifeline, another major contribution to the economic life of Ukraine would be money derived from Russian frozen assets that are located in the EU. We know that the representatives of the EU member states agreed on January 29th to create a separate account where interest from those profits would be allocated. Is it already known who will actually manage this account, and when can we expect tentatively that this money will be allocated for Ukraine?
Well, indeed, you are right that at the end of January, one of the decision-making bodies in our fairly complex and lengthy decision-making process approved it. This was the meeting of the ambassadors of the European Union. They are called permanent representatives. That's part of the decision-making. It still needs to go through the full legislative process. So it still needs to be approved by the European Parliament and needs to be approved by the member states. And I think that is a little bit premature to talk about the timing, but who is going to manage the account. But this shows you that there is an active discussion on how to get the economic benefit from the frozen assets, because everybody agrees with Ukraine on the notion that Russia should pay for all the devastation and destruction that it's causing Ukraine. And this would be one step towards that direction. So it's moving. It's not been easy because it's a legally complex issue. And so there has been a lot of hesitation. There is also a track in the G7 where there is a discussion of the same issue about, in fact, confiscating the totality of the Russian frozen assets. But these are things that are moving a little bit slowly because, when you put a lot of lawyers at one table, things don't move very fast. But I think it's moving in the right direction.
Well, the EU is helping Ukraine that is already at war, practically. And now we see that many European politicians and military officials try to voice publicly the idea and get people prepared that Russia might actually attack Europe as well. It will not stop at Ukraine if it prevails. So we see that some EU member states are already taking measures to sort of prepare for any contingency in the future by ramping up their defense budgets, by ramping up arms production. What do you think should the European joint response to this threat, what deterrence should be expressed at the moment, at this point in time?
Well, I think what we are seeing, and there was also very clear language in the conclusions of the summit of today on the EU leaders very much talking about the need to strengthen the military support and strengthen also the defense production to both boost domestic production and domestic deterrence, but in the first place help with the Ukrainian war effort. So there is discussion on needing to boost the production in Europe, create various joint initiatives, and continue supporting the Ukrainian war effort militarily, financially and militarily. So this is something that's very much an active debate. It's going to be discussed at the next summit as well. And what is happening in the meantime is active discussion between Ukrainian representatives and individual member states on the security guarantees. And as part of the security guarantees, there is also discussion of increasing production of artillery, for example, and production of drones, and also supplies of the much needed air defense, etc. I believe that your representatives are in European capitals these days actually negotiating more and more of these bilateral agreements, as was started with the UK, and others are coming.
Enlargement. The European Commission will approve the framework for accession negotiations after confirming the full implementations of EC recommendations by Ukraine?
Well, the European Commission will propose, and it's for the member states to approve, because the negotiating framework is essentially a negotiating mandate that the member states extend to the European Commission. That will be the one that negotiates the accession of Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. So we hope that this might happen in spring. It might happen in spring, but we also know that the elections are coming to the European Parliament, and only then will the new leaders be elected to the European structures. Do you think there is a chance that these actual negotiations with Ukraine will begin under the current composition of the European Commission?
I very much hope so. It's going to depend on the assessment of fulfilling the 4 criteria. There is still some work to do on the Ukrainian side, and of course, as every step of the enlargement process, accession to the EU, it's subject to unanimity, just like was the financing package. So I truly believe and I hope that we will be able to reach that in the spring, around the European Council in March, ahead of the June European elections. But we'll only know the answer in March.
I see. Well, these negotiations provide for a dialogue and agreement on each of the 35 sections or tracks. Chapters, which cover pretty much all spheres. Will this process launch at once for all those chapters, or are there any priorities laid down?
No, actually the chapters are clustered into 6 clusters. They're divided into 6 clusters, and the chapter that gets opened first, and which is the basis for actually being able to finalize the agreement, is so-called fundamentals, where you have a lot of questions of basic democratic values and freedoms, and rule of law, anti-corruption, fight against organized crime, sort of the fundamentals of a strong democracy and state. And that is one of the reasons why there has been so much emphasis from us traditionally put on these areas over the years, and that's why you have seen a prevalence of these type of issues both in the 7 steps from 2022 and the 4 remaining steps that have been outlined in December, when Ukraine received the green light together with Moldova for opening accession negotiations. Thanks.
The last one, but not the least, the question about sanctions, Russia sanctions. We know that the discussions are ongoing about the 13th package of EU sanctions. Can you at all elaborate on this process, or is it totally behind closed doors at the moment?
No, I mean, yes, there are discussions ongoing. That's not a secret. But I think what we have increasingly been putting emphasis on is actually making sure that the previous packages get implemented. That was a big part of the 12th package, was also making sure that whatever was discussed and decided before actually gets done. The EU has named Mr. O'Sullivan as the sanctions coordinator that in fact travels around the world and works with third countries on to incentivize them to in fact police the sanctions, so they actually get implemented and you don't have circumvention of sanctions. So in parallel to discussions on the 13th package is also how can we make sure that the existing sanctions don't get circumvented, because we all know and all read newspapers and reports how a lot of the production that Russia has, including in the military field, have components that they received in circumventions of our sanctions. So that's a big portion of what needs to be paid attention to.
Well, thank you very much for doing this interview with us on this big historic day, and I hope we'll hear much more pleasant, nice news coming from Brussels this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.